viewers and viewers, my name's John Red Strategist and welcome back to So You're Being Hunted. This is episode 242 now. So, remember in the last episode I started a challenge suggested to me by my good friend Phil, the Alert Landowner Challenge. So, if you can't remember, the basic deal of this challenge is I have to do a normal playthrough of the So You're Being Hunted, storyline, campaign, whatever you want to call it, but with a twist. So the landowner is set to spawn from the beginning of the game. Obviously I tweak that in the main menu settings, but when I am going to basically get, what was I trying to say? Jesus Christ, I've just interrupted my own train of thought. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When I basically go to get a device piece, the deal is I cannot pick it up unless the landowner is in alert status and following me. So, it's an interesting challenge, this one. However, until I actually go and try and get the device piece in question, or a device piece rather, I can basically run around and explore to my heart's content without the landowner pursuing me. Now, I actually quit out the game after the last episode just to check my footage, so I've reloaded in, so you can see the landowner has now moved. He's in a different position. Because you remember, of course, in the last episode, we had a fairly, easy introduction to this challenge. I managed to clear the island of all the device pieces, basically. And you remember, of course, landowner, old big man over there, was basically stuck in a field. He couldn't get out of it. And so as a result, the challenge was actually fairly easy. All I had to do was get him in alert status and I could just run around to my heart's content, doing whatever I wanted. But of course, now that I've reloaded the game, it's moved him. So yeah, that's going to be more challenging, I think, especially as we get into these next islands. Because of course, he may not spawn in an enclosed area again, which means things could get more challenging. Okay, there's a jetty over here, so we might as well go over in this direction. Hello, sea beast over there. Come to say hi, have you? It's very nice of you. So yes, of course, so far not many robots will be spawning, just the hunters. The hounds are spawning now, but, not much else. So at the moment, it should still be fairly straightforward. It's when it's going to get into the late stages of the game when we have poachers, riders, things like that. That's when I'm worried. Well, that's the stage of the game that I'm worried about. Because of course, riders particularly are the nasty ones. Because you all know how they work. Basically, they spawn. Oh God, I'm setting down the volume on my friggin' headset. I don't want to do that. Put it back to 100. There we are. Ooh, check out that friggin' priory ruin up there. Let's get a screenshot of that for a thumbnail. But yeah, you know how the riders work in this game. It's basically, usually on the default settings, usually you get, I say, one or two of them per island, and they usually have set patrol routes through the centre that they stick to when they're on patrol, and they're quite wide patrol routes, i.e. they go for quite a way, so they cover quite a lot of the island, and it can make moving around the island a bit of a stop-start kind of business, because you're constantly having to stop, wait for them to move on, then move, jump out of cover, move a little bit again. There's a little pile over here. I want to cook my pheasant, so use those. Cook that meat. Right, better get out of here. Better get our asses clear before anyone sees us. Right, so first things first, we need to locate where the landowner is on this island and get him in alert status, or alternatively if we find some buildings maybe. This is a mountain biome actually, so there probably aren't going to be many buildings now that I think about it on this particular island. Careful. Ooh, bit of parkour. There we are. Right. I don't really have many supplies, do I? I've only got one alarm clock. I need more stealth equipment. More alarm clocks, maybe some bottles, whatever else have you. Well, we can maybe do that in this episode then, actually. Delicious local stout we'll take, because we can get a bottle out of that. I've got plenty of food, don't need more. Bandages, I've got so many of them. Again, don't need more at present. Where be's the landowner? We'll find out in due course, but in the meantime, let's do our exploration whilst we have the chance. And just see if I can get some more stealth equipment. So how are you guys all doing out there watching this? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Hope life's treating you well as usual. Should be very, very good, hopefully. I always ask this, because it's nice and sociable to ask this sort of question, eh? But yes, there's actually something I was thinking about talking about in this episode. Basically, you know that I'm quite, I'm getting into my anime. I've probably said this about a million times, and you're probably all nodding along saying, yes, Red, you've told us that about a million times before in various other videos in this So You're Being Hunted series. But yeah, I always like to talk about, animes that I've recently watched or come across, things like that. There's a couple that I've recently come across which, actually more than a couple actually. There's a few which recently I've been watching. So one of the first ones that is worth mentioning is Mirai Nikki. I can't remember whether I've talked about this one. It was either... Did I talk about this one previously in a previous episode? I don't think I did. It might have actually been in an episode of Alice Madness Returns where I talked about it. But Mirai Nikki, everybody, which, is not a new anime, it's been out a few years, but it's a really interesting one. So the storyline's quite interesting behind it. So the idea is you have 12 individuals who are all given these, what are called future diaries, by Deus Ex, the god of space-time, I think he's supposed to be. And the idea is they're placed into a kind of killing game to determine who will be Deus Ex's successor. So the main protagonist is a teenage guy called Yukiteru, and he is, pretty much your sort of stereotypical anime protagonist. Just wants a quiet life, all that. Not doing maybe the best in school, what have you, but he basically finds himself propelled into this death game when he's given a future diary, and he basically becomes known as First, the first among the 12 diary users. And so the idea is that the users have to use their diaries to determine who the other users are, and then find ways of killing them. Or alternatively, I say alternatively actually at the same time, to find ways of using their diary to basically protect themselves. But usually the gimmick with the diaries is they have limitations of what they can show. So, certain characters have diaries that only show them certain things, or diaries which are kind of related to their real-life occupations, things like that. Like, for example, one of the diary users is a kind of homicide detective, and his diary shows him future murder cases that will unfold in his district where he works, something like that. So it's really interesting. But what future diary is perhaps most famous for, I think, is the secondary protagonist, the primary female character, Yuno Gasai, who's basically, I think, widely regarded in anime as being the queen of yanderes. And yeah, she's a massive yandere. She's basically homicidally in love with Yukiteru. But let's just say, it's a very interesting anime, and I really enjoyed it. The kind of late phases of the anime do get a bit mind-bending. Those of you who've watched it, you'll probably know what I mean, but I won't say too much in regards to, just in case anyone out there is thinking about watching it, because I don't want to, be a spoily Sue. So yes, there's still no sign of a landowner just yet. Just got to listen for him. Maybe it would be easier if I just stayed in one position, because surely he would eventually wander by. The thing is, I've got some equipment now. I've got more alarm clocks, and I've got obviously a couple of alcoholic drinks, which once I drink them, I'll get empty bottles from. Okay, maybe I should just follow the wisps instead. Maybe they'll... I could follow the wisps, and that way I could scout out the environment, work out roughly where the device pieces are located. Because I've got this map here, so I could, scout out, mark out where each device piece is, and then find the landowner, get his attention, get him to follow me, and then just use the map to navigate my way to each device piece, something like that. Ah, speaker devil. Okay, there's one over here, so we'll get a bit closer to it, and then we'll drop a marker on the map. Obviously though, without the landowner being active and following me, I can't actually do anything to get that device piece just yet. Okay, right, let's here we are. So it's around about up here. Drop marker 1 there, there we go. Right, let's keep exploring. Keep scouting out the environment. I mean, if we find the landowner, we can... Oh, hold on a minute. There's another one just over here. Okay, so we've got 2 that are in fairly close proximity to one another. That's pretty good. Okay, map out. Let's drop another marker about there. There we go. Excellent. Okay, See, this is good. This is a good sort of tactical way of doing it, rather than having to just fly around with the landowner constantly after me. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, getting back to the subject at hand that I was talking about, anime. Obviously, I talked about Mirai Nikki, pretty much sort of summed up the basics of it. What else? Another one that I've started watching fairly recently, which is very different, I must say, to... It's a rabbit, not a dog. Very, very different to Future Diary. Infinite Stratos, which is basically a sort of sci-fi harem comedy. So, you know, the sort of anime we're talking about here, one where there's a sort of slightly clueless male protagonist surrounded by lots of female characters who are all interested in him, and basically comedy ensues and all that. Except, of course, like I say, it's a sci-fi setting, so it's set in a weird future where the balance of international power has been kind of disrupted by the invention of what's called the IS, the Infinite Stratos, which is basically a kind of mech battlesuit, which can only be piloted by females. But then you have the male MC, the main character, Ichika, who basically discovers that he's the first male who, for reasons that I don't think are entirely explained, in the first season at least. I've watched the first season, I haven't watched the second season just yet, but in the first season the reasons not explained behind this, but basically he's the only male on Earth who can actually pilot an IS, and so, you know, as usual, this is where you get all the comedy from, his exploits, because he gets enrolled into the IS Academy, and yes. So, so far it's pretty much standard combination of sort of mecha anime combined with harem comedy, that sort of thing. I'm still thinking, where is this landowner? He should be around. I haven't seen anything of him, though. It's like he's just... Oh, God. Check that guy up there. Jesus. He's got to be around somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, Infinite Stratos, so far, I'm enjoying it. We'll have to see how second season turns out. Thing is, when I bought my DVD copies for both Infinite Stratos seasons off Amazon, you know, the first season got fairly good ratings. Second season, I noticed slightly more mixed ratings for it. People say it's good, but apparently it just doesn't end maybe that well. Is that the third device piece down there? I think it is. Okay. Switch off torch, open map. Yeah, we're down here, so marker 3 right there. Right, so we've got our markers on the map and on the compass above. So now it's just a matter of locating where the bloody landowner's got himself. Well, where has he got himself to? That's the question. I wonder if he's stuck again somewhere. He should be around. He definitely does spawn on other islands, so I don't see... I'm just surprised we haven't run into him yet. Let me just have a sip of tea whilst I'm at it. Let me sip my tea and ponder on this quandary in which we find ourselves. I mean, I guess for now all we can do is just keep looking. So yeah. But yes, so we talked about Mirai Nikki, talked about Infinite Stratos. Oh, hello. IDW Shadow is now playing Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Yes. I haven't played Transformers Fall of Cybertron for ages. I actually bought it because a friend of mine on Steam who basically, well, I say a friend of mine, one of my viewers for my RTCW series who I once got chatting to on Steam, and I sometimes chat with him still on occasion. You know, he's a big Transformers fan, and he's basically like, oh, you should get this game. You know, we can do multiplayer on it. So, you know, I've done a couple of multiplayer matches with him. I'm not very good at it, though, I'll be honest. Transformers Fall of Cybertron. And the thing is, I'm not actually a big fan of Transformers, I must say. I don't really know a lot about it. I know a few character names, things like that, and I know that apparently it's something to do with a war between Decepticons and Autobots. But beyond that, nah, I don't really know anything about it. Can't really say it's something that's... can't really say Transformers is something that I've ever really been hugely interested in. But yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I imagine there are probably a few Transformers fans, though, probably watching these videos right now. Who knows? Yes. Yeah, that's another series, actually, incidentally, that the person I'm talking about was into Power Rangers as well. I remember when I was a kid, I'm sure on children's TV they had episodes of Power Rangers all the time even. And again, Power Rangers, that was another series that I personally never really got into. There were a lot of series actually. Now that I think about it, which as a kid I never really got into them, even though they were very popular among my age group. So, thing is, Transformers possibly was one of them. Power Rangers I know was definitely one that certainly a lot of young boys back when I was a kid they were into, but I personally was never really that interested in. What else? I remember when I think the Pokemon anime first started airing over here in the UK back in late 90s, early 2000s, whenever it was. And of course, there was the associated rage with all the kind of merchandise, namely Pokemon cards, things like that. Those went massive over here in the UK back in the day. But again, they were something which so many of my kind of peers in primary school and things like that, they were all interested in. So, in primary school, secondary school, they were all interested in. But again, I never was really interested in that kind of thing. I'm a funny sort of person, me. All the big trends pass me by. I suppose that's, that kind of characterises my channel though, doesn't it? Because if you come to my channel looking for AAA games, things like that, you're going to be disappointed because you probably won't really find any. But if you're looking for sort of small, obscure indie titles, stuff like that, then yeah, my channel's definitely got a lot of stuff in that regard. I guess that's just my thing, really, isn't it? But yeah. Well, what an interesting diversity of topics we've discussed so far in this episode. We started with Mirai Nikki, and now we've gone to talk about how I was not really into big trends during my childhood. How did we get from one to the other? Yes. I need to drink up my tea before it starts going too lukewarm. So yes, let me just gulp this down. Lovely. I'll probably make myself a fresh one actually after I finish recording this episode. Okay, still no sign of the landowner. Where is he? What's he doing? He does spawn on other islands, right? I'm pretty sure he does, right? I'm sure I've seen him on other islands other than the centre one. Where the heck's he at? Maybe we should just sit here for a while and just see if he shows up. Because maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's wandering in one direction, I'm just wandering in a completely different one. As a result, I'm actually getting further and further away from him rather than closer and closer. Let's get our binoculars out. Does anybody see any sign of the key robot to this challenge? Because I don't. How strange. Okay. Just keep listening as well, because we'll hear him at some point. Because the thing is, I can't progress forward in this challenge until I find the landowner and actually get him to start following me. Because only then can I start picking up these device pieces that I've marked. I hope something hasn't glitched out. Otherwise that could be a problem. Hello. Are you around anywhere? Oh. Something glowing through there? Oh, is that a trash dumpster? Or rubbish dumpster? Rubbish bin, should I say, since I'm from the UK, not America. It's peculiar, I definitely don't hear him. I can hear thumping noises, but I don't know, is that him or is that part of the music? Oh, it might be part of the music. Hello? See, that's that cottage up there. There were hunters by that, but... Ooh, fish and chips, yes please. Playing to my national stereotype a little bit there, but yeah, whatever. Hello? God, speaking of fish and chips... Oh, I've not had a good plate of fish and chips in a long while, me. Because that's the problem. Where I'm now living, there isn't... Well, I say there isn't. There probably is, but I don't know of any good fish and chips in my local area. Because, of course, back when I used to live up north, in Lancashire, there were plenty of fish and chip shops around that I could go to, including some really nice ones. But down here, where I'm living now, I don't know of any. I know of a few sort of takeaways, Chinese takeaways, Indian takeaways, Thai, things like that, in my sort of local area where I'm living now, down in the sort of edges of the south, well, say edges of, down in this sort of more southwesterly region of England. I know of restaurants of that kind which do sort of, you know, takeaway and delivery services, things like that, but not fish and chip shops, interestingly. God, I'm going to have to look into this and find out if there is one near me. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. Still no sign of the landowner on this island, which I'm getting a bit concerned about, because I would have surely seen him by now. I'm wondering where he's got to, because like I say, I can't continue the challenge until I find him. So yeah, I'll probably start recording the next episode straight away though, that's the thing. So yes, well in that case, hope you'll join me for episode 243, yeah, that's the right one, everybody, where I'll continue my search for the landowner and see if I can locate him, and then hopefully start, you know, making a move on these 3 device pieces and getting gas from me tea. Oh, Jesus Christ. I hiccuped at the same time as I was talking. Bloody hell, that was embarrassing. So yeah, hope you'll join me then for part 243, everybody. If you're not doing so already, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter, links in the video description. Also in the video description, a link can be found to my second channel, General Propagandist. So if you're interested in me doing anime-related content, you might want to go check it out. Who knows? Also, of course, leave your comments below in the comment section, talking about anime, Transformers, Power Rangers, Pokemon, whatever you want to discuss. Certainly in relation to the topics we've been discussing in this video, or I've been discussing rather, I should say, since it's a very one-sided conversation. But yes, thank you everybody. In the meantime, this is me signing off. Goodbye all. Oh shit! Okay, that's an interesting flag. That's the rising sun combined with the stars and stripes. Hang on, so is this country like a fusion of America and Japan? How interesting. Yes, well, yeah, that is interesting. What?
He's on a quiet day. I can't like this now. I'm not that kind of girl. He's on a quiet day. I can't like this now. I'm not that kind of girl. He's on a quiet day. I can't like this now.
Okay, fine. That's enough of that. God. In-game S&M. Why do I still have the fly swatter?